Hey, I'm Shovel, and this is my Jeep Patriot, and it's got kind of poopy drawers. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up in this camera shot, but the back end sags a little bit, and I replaced all the shocks and springs and everything last year, so the back ones have kind of already sagged a bit. That's probably what I get for getting cheap ones, but that's where I had to be financially at the time. So in order to try and fix that, I could try replacing the whole shocks and springs and stuff all over again, which I'd really rather not do. First, though, I'm going to try and experiment with these guys right here. These are from a company called Rubbershox, and they're made to just kind of twist in between the coil springs. If it works for me, I'll let you know about it. It might work as a solution for you as well if you need to get a little extra height in the back of your Patriot or offset some load that you're always carrying back there. For the sake of standards, I've got this stick right here that I'm just going to stick right underneath here, and we can see that that fits pretty well underneath the little front of the rocker panel there. And I'm just going to take this and bring it around the back. And we can see that it fits not quite as far underneath the back rocker panels. So that's the offset in height, I believe. Obviously, that's not very scientific, but it doesn't really have to be. All we have to do is make sure that this fits all the way underneath there smoothly when we're done.
This is only entertainment. You don't really know. I did it safely this time.
So these guys here pretty much just have to twist in between these coils. The challenge, of course, is that this thing is, pretty much as tall as the coils are themselves. It may not necessarily want to go in there very easily. I'm just gonna go ahead and make a little disclaimer for the first time on my channel ever, which is have a professional install this if you're in any doubt at all about your safety. Big potential for getting hurt. A lot of stored energy in a spring.
This is only entertainment. You don't really know. I did it safely this time. That's not the only way that it could go. This is only entertainment. Leave it all to the pros. Sometimes you end up in the hospital, and that's the way it goes. Follow the instructions included with the kit. I'm just a dude on YouTube, and maybe I'm a twit.
So hopefully that made sense. What I personally did, again, just for entertainment, is I jacked up the weight off the bottom of the suspension control arm on here and made it so that the coil spring coils were pretty close together. And then I took just below the level that I was going to install this and I tied them down. I bound them with two of these straps that have these little cam locks on them. The reason I did that instead of using a ratcheting one is there's actually a lot of forces here and you don't want the ratcheting one to get bound up or let go. That's a bad time. Usually when these let go, they let go with a little bit of delay. They don't just pop, they kind of burn, I guess you could say, like they go zzz. And so that delays the release of energy on them unless the actual material just snaps, but usually they just slip. Anyway, the other part that was really important, lubricant. I didn't use WD-40 or anything like that because I don't know if the petroleum-based ones degrade this stuff, may or may not. So I used one that's safe for interior panels. It's still extremely slippery. And then I used this mallet here to just pound it on. So the way that that worked is that it just kind of forced it between those things, and then the lips on either side of it just naturally want to pop back out to their full size on the other side of the spring. I'll show you what I mean by that. You can see there that it's kind of on both sides of the coil spring, so it's not just stuck on one side of it, and it's not halfway stuck on the other side of it. That's about 900 times more difficult without lubricant. I just let the car down off the jacks, and as you can see, the tire is kind of sucked that way because the suspension moves in an arc. So as the car gets lowered back down and the weight gets applied to the wheel, it binds the wheel against the direction the suspension wants to level out in. And so that means that I've got to take the car for a drive around the block just to make sure that it all settles in properly. I just got back from taking the car around the block just to let the suspension settle. No new rattles or creaks or squeaks or any other kind of noise like that. So let's take a look with our stick of truth what kind of difference we made. Yeah, looks like it still goes pretty much the same distance under the front, maybe just a hair more, but that makes sense since the pivot point is going to be the middle of the front wheel. So if the whole thing is lifting up, that's lifting up a little bit in the front too. Let's go ahead and take a look in back. So that goes all the way underneath there. I'm not really sure how to quantify that exactly, but let's say that it's probably about a ½ an inch. It certainly is going as far under the back as it goes under the front. As far as I can tell, that looks kind of like about a ½ inch of restored height. I wouldn't call it a lift. It's more like a unsag, but it's also going to hopefully make it so that it stays more level when I load the back up with groceries or stuff from Home Depot or bikes or whatever else I happen to put in the back of the vehicle. It is going to be necessary to get it aligned. I've got all the tools here to do a proper alignment myself, so I'm going to do that. It's also going to be necessary to re-aim the headlights because now they're pointed a little bit down from where they were before, and so they're going to have to get aimed back to level again. But overall, I consider this a win. So far, seems like a pretty good purchase, and they were like $28, so it's not really a big deal. The biggest expense, if you're doing it, is probably going to be paying someone to install them if you can't do it yourself, and paying someone to align it if you can't do your own alignments. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.